Greetings, I am GoldenWing, and welcome back to episode 11 of Let's Play Space Engineers. Where last time we were building, or continuing to build, our awesome ship. We put together this fantastic bridge area, all nicely wrapped in glass. It's looking good. So I did a little bit of thinking off camera and kind of figuring out how the skin might work. So I wanted to kind of angle the bridge up. I started these kind of 45s because I like breaking up the single line, give it a little bit of character, and I want some depth up here. We're going to be adding a couple of things on top, so we're going to need a little bit of depth at the top here. I also changed, remember, towards the end of the episode, we were looking at the kind of end section here. So we had decided to stick in a couple of extra cargo containers. I sort of switched that around. I still have the one medium cargo container on either side, but I added 3 hydrogen tanks. So I kind of like that because you can see the fuel level of the hydrogen tank here. I sort of like that. And if we go up top, you'll see there are 2 other hydrogen tanks stacked on top of it, all wired into the conveyor network. So that gives us 6 hydrogen tanks right off the bat. And we haven't even talked about where the engines go yet. So that's cool. It's also playing around with maybe, I don't know, maybe covering these up in glass. I'm not sure. I mean, they're all sealed in, so even though this block space here is not airtight, of course, all of the tanks on the top will be sealed off by the time we're done. Okay, so I want to add some stuff here. Let's remove some of these. Okay. So I want to sort of be efficient about our floor space here. I think we should start by removing this. And let's grab the azimuth conveyor type X. We'll stick him there. And then we'll add the azimuth oxygen gen that we decided we liked. Now he's got, yeah, conveyors top and bottom. That's good. Let's put him like this. Say there and there. Well, that'll give us 2. I want more than 2, that's for sure. So we could, let's see, that would be 4, 6, 8, 10. Seems like a nice round number. I want enough oxygen gens that when the engines, the hydro engines are running at idle, we make as much hydrogen as we are consuming. That way, so long as we have ice in the tank, we have fuel. If that makes any sense. I'm not sure what those numbers are, mostly because we haven't built the engines yet. But, so let's start with 10. That sort of makes sense. I mean, we could always add more. We do have the space. Okay. You talked me into it. Let's go for double. Because they'll connect through each other. Okay, so that's 20. That's got to be a reasonable start, right? That makes sense. Okay, so here's the next thing I want to try and think about. Sure, that'll be fine. Let's add more X-type conveyors here. Now we have these reactors, which, if I'm being fair, provide quite a bit of power. There we are, max output, 59 megawatts. That's nothing to slouch at. So, to that end, and kind of just to add more power, I want to add these fusion reactors here. Like this. That'll supplement our power supply. And it will also give us a reactor that we could conceivably get to add fuel, to power the conveyor networks, to add fuel to these. If you followed me on that. Okay. So we've got oxygen generators, we've got reactors. One thing that might be nice to add, because we've got a little space here, is some batteries. Could add the 1x1s. Kind of like Azimuth's, if I'm being fair. But his are a little bigger. So these guys would fit in real nice. This guy is, what is he, 1 wide? 1 wide. But a 3x3 pattern. We could fit them under the floor up here somewhere. Okay, so maybe not the best use for back here. So maybe we do add the little ones. They don't need a conveyor connection. We added some batteries along here. So the use of batteries is just to provide a buffer, as the batteries can normally output energy faster than the reactors can. It's just they have a limited supply. So it really comes in handy if you have a ship and you're trying to balance, like this guy, the engines for it. The reactors on this ship are perfectly fine to control it unless you're trying to change your direction in 2 or more axes at the same time. If you're trying to do some sort of a powered turn, then the forward thrusters and the lateral thrusters all have to fire simultaneously. For those purposes, batteries are helpful. So we'll get those kind of things going, and then we'll put the flooring back on top. That'll look nice. Okay, so up here, what I want to do up here is I want to add a connector. I think it's this one. Yeah, this is the one. And to do this, we're going to need the converter. I'm not entirely sure where I want to put it. So let's think about this. Let's take connecting below. All right. Let's take you and you out. Use the X connector here and a T intersection here, followed by the adapter, which has those arrangement of ports. And on top of that, we will add our armored connector. Yeah, like that. And then what we'll do, tripping over the tubes here, is we'll kind of frame it in here. So I want the floor, or roof rather, to do something like this. See? So it's all part of the roof, and then the connector ends up being just seamlessly in the ceiling. And the reason I want to put it here is I'm thinking about docking a second ship on the top of this one, specifically a miner. So we do still need to think about mining. So we'll do that, and I'll fill in, well, I probably won't fill it in, but I'll box around and flesh out the rest of that. And then I want to think about up here. We want to think about the thruster situation. Now I've got a connector. Can I get in here? No, that would be convenient. Let's just put a couple of blocks down so I can stand up. So I've got this conveyor port here. That'll get us fuel out. And I'm sort of followed this line out from the window. Try and make something that sort of follows that curve. I imagine we're going to round this off. It's just sort of a rough guess at this point. We definitely need to put the engines in here. So to give us some size, this is what a large atmospheric engine looks like. It's 3 by 3 by, I believe that's 6. Yeah. And these are the large hydrogen thrusters. They've got a large conveyor port on the back and small conveyors on either side. We need thrust forwards, backwards, up, down, and this is right in this case. I think most of the atmospherics thrust we can get away with just pointing down. It's really the only job these are going to do for us is to get us off a planetary surface and into orbit. I was sort of hoping that was going to fit around that. Maybe we can... grab that small conveyor again. This guy is the one I want. We'll put him there. And if we put this atmospheric thruster, say, here. So we could practically hide it inside of the skin, and you'd never see it. Now, if we want to leave a gap for those fuel lines. There, that seems like a lot of thrusters. So let's add more, because clearly that's what you do. Can I get in here? Maybe. I guess here will do. There, so that's 3 large atmospherics and 3 small atmospherics all facing down. Now if we wanted to add a tank out here, and I was sort of considering that, this is what a tank would look like. And we'd have to think about wiring that in and also lining it up. So if we had a, let's try this. Let's put, say, a few blocks down. We want space there so we can get the conveyor behind it. We took this guy. I'm not sure where laterally. Maybe there. Right? Then we could take our tier 4 thruster, stick him right on the front like that. I know we have 6 hydrogen tanks already, but, well, somehow I think having more fuel isn't going to necessarily be a bad thing. Can we slip another one in? Yeah, see, we can't. Okay. So what if we took this tank that we're talking about and we just move him out 1 block? Say we put it there. And then we put the engine on. Now can I get another? Yeah, it looks like I might be able to. Gonna need something to mount it on temporarily. By the way, this is why I took that beacon off. I didn't want the nanites to get eager about building stuff while we're sort of framing it out. So that would give kind of a tiered thruster look. That's not too bad, I don't think. We might be able to stick some smaller ones in. Oh, that's a smart idea. If we took, let's say, one of these atmospheric engines out, we could put conveyors behind it and stick smaller thrusters. That's a good idea. So let's think about taking that out. And I'm going to use the standard small conveyors here. Do this. That would give us some lateral thrust. We could even add additional forward. Not that we're going to need a whole lot of braking power. But, I suppose, go big or go home, right? Might be able to sneak a couple more in here. Okay, so that's looking sort of decent. We still need downward facing. And that's sort of my... I can't quite picture how that is going to look yet. Putting them on the front of the tanks made that real easy, but where do you put another one? You see, maybe we should have left 3 spaces between the tank and the atmospheric thrusters. Okay. So let me get the roof situated and let me put this floor back in. I'll let the nanites build up some of this stuff and I will be back with you. Alright, so I'm just checking in here while I'm skinning off the roof, and I've discovered that we have a bit of a cavity under the roof here that we can take advantage of. So I'm going to take these small atmospheric Tier 4 thrusters, and I'm going to slip them facing backwards, as it is, along here. Now we do have thruster damage turned on. So if you're following along at home, this won't damage anything. They'll only do damage, as I understand it, within the first 3 blocks of the center block of the thruster. So 1, 2, 3, and this 4th block won't get damaged. So we can actually seal this right inside. And there we are. Now the ceiling's all welded in place. So I made some changes. You saw the engines that we had added. There's 5 atmospheric engines under the roof on either side for a total of 10. I also added this window in the back as we had extra space, and I moved the connector back a little bit. It's kind of a best guess for, I want to build a tiny little drill ship that will dock here. And that's about my best guess as to where that connector is going to go. But we could move it 1 block back, or we can move it up to 3 blocks forward without much fiddling, really. The floor is all welded up. We do have all of our generators under the floor, batteries, and ice machines, oxygen generators. Rearranged the lights, and here's our window, which I thought was kind of cool. Sort of just happenstance, but I sort of like that the design worked out that way. It's just sort of nice. I don't think I changed much up here. I added these 2 cargo containers because I decided to go with the glass. Can you access it? Won't let me. I didn't think you'd. Oh, cool. I didn't think you'd be able to open the cargo container through the glass, but, you know, doing something new every day. What else? We welded it up on this side, and I had to go at this. So this is essentially, this took me a while, this is the thruster design that we had talked about. So we have the atmospherics up here, if you'll recall, that we were talking about placing. We had talked about running some conveyors here with hydrogen thrusters on them. I decided to go with the azimuth hydrogen tanks as opposed to those larger ones we were looking at. I believe they're the same volume, but one takes up physically more space. So I think these are more efficient that way. In any case, it's the ones that fit better. And then out of careful playing with, I'll show you, this piece, which is the conveyor converter, and it has 5 plugs on that side, 1 on each of the skinny sides in 2 directions, and then a large port on the bottom. So out of playing with that and this guy, who is the advanced conveyor frame, that's got 2 large ports, and then all other sides have small ports. In any case, I was able to stack those under these thrusters, you can see, and stick the large thruster off the front, and then those advanced, these guys, the advanced frames, sit underneath, and they allow us to put large hydrogen thrusters off the top and off the bottom. I don't really expect to need a lot off the top, but it made the design easier to deal with. And then I tossed a bunch of extra small hydrogen thrusters here, because I had to sort of join everything together with these small conveyors. Off the back, we did kind of just a mirror of the front in terms of how the conveyors are laid out. And we have 3 large hydrogens and 6 small hydrogens all facing aft. And then under here we've got all of the atmospherics. I don't know, we don't have a whole lot of atmospheric engines pointing down, if I'm being fair, for the amount of weight we have. But, well, every little bit helps. So let's have the nanites build this up here, and we'll take a look. Well, I think that's about as good as the nanites are going to do. I bet we're running out of probably thruster components. Yeah, we're completely out of thruster components. So, that's okay. Tim will continue making them, and we'll let the nanites continue installing them. But this gives a better view as to what was being built there. So we've got 2 extra tanks out here. We've got 3 large pointing up and 3 small pointing up. Yeah. We've got 2 pointing laterally. 3 back plus 6 small back. We got 2 pointing forward plus 3. And then we've got, I guess, 6 more lateral thrusters that way. We're pretty decent down. Sort of hoping that these atmospherics be strong enough to lift it by its own. We'll see. We'll see. Looking good, though. What do you guys think? It's starting to look like something. And I will go ahead and duplicate what we've done on this wing over here between this episode and next. But we're coming right along. We'll want to build... I want to get this up off the ground a little further. Because what I want to do is build out something that looks like landing struts, maybe out of heavy armor blocks. I would prefer, as the craft sits on the ground, I'd prefer that there are 3 blocks below, 1, 2, 3, minimum, between the thrusters and the ground. That way it'll prevent the... Thank you, nanites. It'll prevent the thrusters from damaging whatever you're landing on. And I just think it would be kind of fun to build, you know, maybe some sort of a, you know, kind of landing strut like that. And we could use the MacLeod blocks to have it act as a landing gear. It'd be kind of fun. Hopefully something that looks better than this. I'm liking how this looks. Window in the back looks great. Doesn't look too bad. I was afraid the wing might look a little disproportionate. I think it's got way more thrusters than we might need, but I don't know, we put a lot of storage in it. You load that storage up with a bunch of ore and components, and then put another ship on top of it, and it's all loaded down. I think it could get pretty heavy. I'd prefer to land when we return to Earth, or Terra here, and not crash. Inside looks pretty cool. Let's think about that. I might want to do there. Could reroute that pipe. Maybe that's the easiest way. If you even got enough room for another screen up there, that'd be cool. That's the other thing. We'll have to install the computers. Got plenty of space under the floor up here for that. A few other toys. Get the monitors up here working. Our wing doesn't hardly cut the view here. That's great. Fantastic. Well, that is me signing off for the day. Thank you all for joining me. Return next time, and we will finish off this these wings, and maybe even get a bit of a kind of a test flight. It's coming right along. All right. Have a good one.